Alright, so hey guys, welcome to another Warframe video, and today I want to talk a little bit about a Riven setup that I put together for the Glaxion. Now, since I never made a proper quick look for the Glaxion, let's quickly go over the stats just so we know what we're dealing with here. So, the Glaxion, a Mastery Rank 8 primary beam rifle that does 26 core damage per damage tick with 8% crit chance, 2 times crit multiplier, and 34% status chance. And that's pretty much all the important stuff, and if you want to get the weapon, you simply buy the blueprint from the Corpus or Energy Lab in your dojo. It will cost you 20,000 credits, 1 field drone, 550 circuits, 2,500 cryotic, and 1 forma. I always wanted to do something with the Glaxion because it's a weapon that does pure elemental damage and has good status, and that's always a lot of fun to play around with, and B, it has a pretty cool unique mechanic because it will slowly freeze enemies as you attack them. But even though the weapon has been in the game for almost 5 years at this point, I mean, this thing is as old as cryotic. It was released with the excavation update. I never did anything with it. Until now, that is, because I finally finished the setup that I wanted to do for a couple of months now, because I've had this Riven for like 3, maybe even 4 months. I just didn't have the time to put the setup together. And the reason for that is, boom, it took 7 forma to fit everything in, and I was a little bit short on forma in the last couple of months. I'm not anymore though, which is good. And the setup I ended up going was just a big boy gas bell to help with AoE a little bit. So we have Serration for damage, Split Chamber for multi-shot, then we have Heavy Caliber for extra damage and the negative accuracy doesn't matter, and Vigilante Armaments for some additional multi-shot. Then if I want big boy damage, I'm gonna go with a Primed Bane mod, and I know I don't have them maxed out, but it's still better than anything else I can put in here, even though it's 3 ranks from the top. It's just too much of an investment for something I don't use all that often. And it still adds a stupid amount of damage because the faction damage is added 3 times throughout the gas calculation. Then we have the Riven Glaxion Hexatox, which adds a stupid amount of status chance and lets me run just 1 dual stat mod on top of my status. And it also adds a ton of toxin, which is good. That's what you want for a gas setup. You don't want heat, you want toxin. And the negative here is critical damage, which is a bit of a bummer, and if it wasn't there, I would actually scale crit. Then I'm adding even more toxin via infected clip, and finally we have to combine it with heat and also top of our status, so I added thermite rounds here. Now at first I was a little bit worried about the setup because I wasn't able to scale crit thanks to the negative crit damage on the Riven, but it turned out really well. Like, it can deal with sortie level enemies from any faction kind of well. It's actually much better in normal missions than it is in the Simulacrum, at least when it comes to the Grenier, because what you can do is focus the beefiest enemy and slow him down in the process while also killing everything around them with the gas clouds. And that was just the Grenier. When it comes to the other factions, they melt really fast, especially the Corpus. Just look at this. And the best part about this is that the Bane mods aren't actually entirely necessary, especially when it comes to the Infested and the Corpus, so a lot of the time I just run Combustion Beam instead. This provides even more AoE because the enemies pop for 600 damage, which is quite significant for like the star chart and stuff, and the only noticeable difference is that I can only go up to about level 70 when it comes to the Grenier, because if they're above that they just have way too much armor and I have to put in the Bane mod. But I can still go up to level 100 with the Infested. It does slow down a little bit after that, especially when it comes to the fossilized units. They become a little bit beefy, and with the Corpus there is basically no difference. They still die just as fast as with the Bane mod. So yay, I finally have a proper Glaxion setup that I can take into Elite Sanctuary Onslaught or do sorties with it, and it feels fantastic. And this is why I personally love Rivens, because they let me take a weapon that's perhaps not as great as the other weapons in its category, like for example the Glaxion. It can't measure up to the Amprex or even the Synapse because it just doesn't have the crit stats, and they let me bump it up just enough to make it usable in endgame and have fun with. And that's pretty much it. I don't think there is much else to talk about here, so I thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.